How moronic. This guy is a real idiot. He just arrived in the Blood Demon sect, but won't bow his head in submission, and even dares to act with unbridled aggression. He's in big trouble now. Not only did he dare to kill fellow sect members in the sect, but he chose to kill torture chamber disciples. As the buzz of conversation echoed out, Chang'e flew up into the air, glaring at Meng Hao the entire time. At first, he had been shocked, but that shock was been replaced with boundless elation. Inwardly, he was roaring with laughter. My master said not to take the initiative in provoking him, he thought, but as it turns out, the dolt decided to start killing. Considering his position, killing one could be tolerated, but he killed 3. In that case, if I could get him to kill some more, he would definitely be flirting with death. Having reached this point in his train of thought, Chang'e smiled. I offered respect to you as the Blood Prince, he called out, and in response you dared to make deadly attacks in the sect, and even offended the torture chamber. It doesn't matter how high your cultivation base is, you will be put down. Men, take him into custody. The faces of all the Mount Ironblood disciples flickered in hesitation. However, it was at this moment that 2 shocking pulses of spirit-severing energy erupted from Mount Ironblood. When the Blood Prince commits a crime, he will be treated as anyone else, rumbled an ancient, somber voice. Take him into custody and bring him to Mount Ironblood. If he resists, subdue him immediately. As the words echoed out throughout the entire sect, Chang'e's expression flickered, and he almost started to laugh out loud with self-righteous laughter. He's dead, he thought. At the same time, the other disciples with Chang'e started to look excited. Now that they knew they had the support of the 2 Ironblood patriarchs, they were completely confident. They instantly surged forward toward Meng Hao, completely sure that the Blood Prince would never dare to attack them. If he did, then the 2 Ironblood patriarchs would instantly reveal themselves. Meanwhile, on the second mountain peak, Mount Dark Heaven, in a temple on the peak, Patriarch Dark Heaven sat cross-legged in the form of a young boy. He wore a scholar's garment, and his expression was grim as he cast his gaze down the mountain. Outside of the temple were the 7 apprentices, all of whom sneered coldly as they watched the scene play out. Their contempt for Meng Hao was even greater than before. They believed his ability to think and plan was clearly lacking. In response to a simple test, he instantly revealed his weaknesses. On the 4th mountain peak, the young man with the fan laughed to himself. This Blood Prince is far too inexperienced, he thought. His cultivation base is incredible, but he doesn't know how to conduct himself. Well, let this be a lesson to him. In the end, he isn't worthy of his title. He will bow his head in submission soon enough. The hunchbacked old man on the 5th mountain peak sighed. Too young. Meng Hao looked up, and his eyes were frigid. In fact, his entire person was like a block of ice, and the ruthless aura within him radiated out explosively. My ruthlessness turned into devilishness, he murmured, and I can't suppress it. It does not conform with my Tao, but it is what it is. I might as well let it out. He stepped forward, and in the blink of an eye, his killing intent erupted out. At the same time, he swished his sleeve. It was a simple wave of an arm, but it caused an astonishing gale-force wind to rage up. It was like a wind of heavenly destruction that swept out in all directions, slamming into more than a dozen incoming cultivators. As soon as it touched them, their faces fell, and blood sprayed out of their mouths. Regardless of the various levels of their cultivation bases, they were incapable of standing up to the mightiness of the wind, and their bodies were ripped into shreds. Blood and gore sprayed out in all directions. As for Chang'e, his face instantly went as pale as death, and his pupils constricted. His cultivation base was at the great circle of the nascent soul stage, so it was with great astonishment that he was barely able to stand up to the wind. However, the wind then wrapped around him, transforming into an enormous hand that grabbed him violently. It squeezed down, and cracking sounds could be heard. Chang'e screamed miserably, "Masters, save me." When the onlookers saw this, their faces flickered with astonishment. Up on the 2nd mountain peak, Patriarch Dark Heaven shot to his feet. The hearts of the 7 apprentices outside of the temple filled with shock. On the 4th mountain peak and the 5th mountain peak, similar scenes played out. What is he doing? I can't believe he actually killed so many people. Is he challenging the torture chamber to battle? This was just a test, but he responded in this way. At this point, a cold snort echoed out from Mount Ironblood, and 2 streams of divine sense shot down toward the land below to rescue Chang'e. Meng Hao's expression was calm as the huge hand in midair suddenly began to squeeze shut. "Stay your hand," roared the 2 streams of divine sense. Even as the sound rang out, Chang'e's screaming reached a fever pitch. "No," he cried. "This was just a test." Before he could finish speaking, a boom echoed out as his body was crushed into a pulp of mutilated flesh. His nascent soul was also completely destroyed. He was dead in flesh and soul. To him, it was just a test, but to Meng Hao when it came to attacking there was no such thing as any so-called testing. Deathly silence filled the air. No one could ever have predicted that a simple test would unexpectedly end this way. Moments later, the two streams of divine sense descended toward Meng Hao. "Are you looking to die?" roared one. "How dare you kill my Mount Ironblood disciples? I'm going to crush you." The two Ironblood patriarchs were furious. At the moment, it didn't matter that Meng Hao was the Blood Prince, or that they could sense something strange about his cultivation base. Those things didn't matter. Truth be told, there was something strange about Meng Hao's cultivation base. The life force of a resurrection lily obscured the traces of his second severing, making it seem that he was only in the first severing level. He looked up, and not a trace of hesitation could be seen in his eyes as he sent his divine sense shooting out with intense ferocity. His divine sense was simply too powerful. The fact that the two Ironblood patriarchs were spirit